Okay, everybody, thank you for tuning in today. And my guest needs no introduction, but we'll give her one anyway. She's a living legend, and not just because her Twitter bio says it. Like, she's actually a living legend. I just wanted to preface that. She's a five-time WWE Women's Champion and one of the very trailblazers on the women's revolution. Melina, how you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. And thank you for everything that you said. That warms the heart. Warms the
Listen,
heart.
I have to make you feel at home here, and this is what we do.
Oh my goodness. Kind of made me
Well,
feel weird a little bit about I put it on my bio. But once Cornette said it, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna own that. I'll just
you
put it on
have to.
my bio.
Listen, it's okay if somebody else says it about you first, because then you don't feel as subconscious about it. You're kind of
Yeah,
like, well, if somebody else called me as a living legend, then it's not as bad.
it's true. And for me, I mean, love him or hate him, when it comes to Cornette, he is a genius when it comes to wrestling. So, and he's seen so much. So, for him to say something like that about me, it's like, wow, another check off the list, of great people that I admired and has a lot of knowledge in the business that has praised me. So I'm like, thank you. Like, it's an honor.
Right. And I kind of have noticed about that with you too is like when people say very complimentary things about you, you genuinely feel like someone who's overwhelmed by those compliments.
Oh,
Like some people, if they get like a bunch of compliments like all the time, like they might become numb to it. But like every time I see you in like a clip or something, when somebody says something nice about you, it always feels like you're genuinely like overcome with emotion with that. Is that true?
yeah, I think I don't know. It makes me wonder if it's about like my whole entire, like when you're young and you feel like not so special or not so cute or whatever the case may be. When you hear compliments, it's kind of like, what's going on? Or either that
Yeah.
or you hear it very much. And it's weird when somebody actually does. And you just think, I used to say, yeah, right. And I remember there was this guy, one of my friend's brothers. We'd walk to the school bus every day and he would compliment me. He'd tell me how beautiful I am or how sweet I am or something. And I'd just say, yeah, right. Like, I don't know why. I was just like, whatever. And he said, why can't you ever take a compliment? And then I realized, come here, baby, my doggy.
Oh, nice.
I realized he was right. I wasn't good at receiving compliments, and the reality is that I really do appreciate them. It's just from the kindness of somebody's heart that they're saying that to you, and I do receive them. Like I'm thankful for their kindness, but sometimes it's just like, well, I'm just Melina. I
Mhm.
thank you for the compliment. It means so much, and sometimes there's some people who will say like I am a good wrestler, and there's others that don't think so. But in my heart, I know I did a good job for the storytelling. I did the good
Yeah.
with everything that every person I interacted with taught me. And I
Hmm.
just worked as hard as I could to make them proud. And from their mouths, I know I did well.
Hmm. Where do you think that stems from? Like your inability to take a compliment. Like,
Oh,
is it just because I think when you put yourself in a position, right? Like anybody, I guess, with their craft, they're kind of like, well, wow, somebody actually thinks I'm good at something. Like that, there's sort of that element to it. But is there anything other than that, like that makes you kind of not take a compliment immediately?
when it comes to wrestling or when it comes to life?
Could tie the two into it. A little bit of both. Yeah.
Um, I guess like I growing up when it comes to compliments like on looks, it felt like that looks can fade and everybody's perspective of what's beautiful is different. But all I knew is that it's like I'm grateful when somebody thinks I'm pretty or anything like that. But what means more is the content of my heart. If
Hmm.
I could be, because I'll get older and my body type has changed, my looks will change, and what matters is how you make a person feel and how you treat them and how you give back to the world. And for me, that's everything. That's something that will never fade. It'll never change. Whereas looks do. And I embrace whatever it is. If people think I'm pretty or people don't, it's like, well, it is what it is, but I'll still be nice. I'll still be good. I'll still be kind. And in wrestling, it's that desire of always wanting to be better, because it's not that I don't think I'm good enough. even though I do believe like I could do better. Like I always tell myself I could do better. I could do better. And it's a beautiful thing. It's not this thing where I don't like my work. It's just I have fun with it, and then I, watch everything back, and I think, okay, let's make this craft, let's make this beautiful creation, this artwork that we did in the ring, and improve. We could do better, and it's such a, I don't know, it drives me to outdo the last thing I did, and it's I don't know, it's motivating for me.
That is normal. Like, I think anybody in their craft, kind of always, they always tend to compare what they just did versus like what they're gonna do next. And I think like I noticed with myself too, like I don't watch any of my interviews back. Like I just kind of move on.
Oh,
So like, but it's
a lot of wrestlers do that. A lot of wrestlers are like, well, some are oh man, I'm so amazing, like, and they'll watch themselves all day long. And in my mind, I think, well, that's great that you did, like, you love what you did and you're proud of yourself. But at the same time, how will you improve unless you got to be your own worst critic so that you could be better? Like, why? I don't know. I kind of think, why be right here and just be stagnant when if you are great, if you are one of the best, how about be better than that, where nobody could top you? Just keep striving and reaching for something more. Like, I couldn't not keep striving for something. It's just this need, I think, until the day I die, I will keep wanting to either give or wanting to do or something. But yeah, a lot of other wrestlers that I've talked to, they tell me, they're like, I don't want to watch my stuff back. Like, I can't. And it's so beautiful because I know it's people being modest. You don't want to be that person that watches themselves. But again, it's one of those things where you got to learn from your mistakes, or you got to watch and see things of like what you can improve on.
Mm-hmm. What did your youth years look like in terms of thinking about where you wanted to be in life? Was it wrestling? Was that one of
your such a contrast, and it's like, it's interesting. That's why sometimes not sometimes, a lot of the times I'll say, everything happens for a reason. Even if things go wrong, everything happens for a reason, and we got to find out what that reason is. And maybe it's just being the optimist and trying to find something out of bad, or whatever the case may be. But this wasn't bad. I wanted to be a doctor. So when I was younger, it's like, as soon as I graduated, I knew I'm going to go into school. I'm going to become a medical assistant. And I was working for a cardiologist. And, just the focus was get this under my belt. Then I'll save up money, go to nursing school, go into a big hospital. Then with that money, like, I'll have my spot secured in that hospital, and then go back and start doing my doctorings and everything. But of course, one thing led to another, and I fell into wrestling. And I was only doing it I watched wrestling like my whole entire life, even though there was gaps of not watching. But still, I watched back in the 80s, and I didn't ever think that wrestling was a thing. Like, I could do that was possible. It was just something for like the wrestling families, for the hearts and everything. So I just thought the way it worked, because I had no idea. So my friend at the gym said, because I told him I wanted to do this conditioning and all this stuff, and he's like, just go to my school. Go. And I'm like, what's your school? He's like, it's a wrestling school. I'm like, what am I going to do with like college wrestling? He's like, what? Melina, I've known you for years. What do you think I do? Like, I thought you did college wrestling. He's like, no, I do professional wrestling. And I was like, oh, well, like in the TV? And he said, yes, Melina, like on the TV. So I went to a school, and it was so much fun. So I only did it for conditioning until Dr. Tom found me. And Dr. Tom, he said that I had a great look, I have great ring awareness, my selling was good, and that I have like the ability, like the look and the ability that would fit in the WWE. And then I just looked at him and I said, you mean I could get paid to do this? And he said, yes, Melina, you could get paid to do this. And so from that one moment, as soon as I heard him say that, I felt in my heart like this was the path I'm going to go for, and I'm not going to look back. I'm not going to take no for an answer. Even though tough enough, I thought it was a no, like, oh, maybe life is telling me I got to quit this pipe dream. Like, this is not for me. And then as I was walking away from the set or the area, Al Snow stopped me and he said, "Keep going." Like, and he hugged me and I just started crying because that was like life telling me, "Don't stop." It's like the universe knew what I was thinking, and then he sent him to stop me. And him saying that to me, I was like, okay. And from then on, nonstop.
Wow, that's quite a transition. You go from a doctor, which would entail you kind of helping people with like physical ailments, to then like you kind of being on the opposite coin.
It's true, but you know what? Like, I kind of felt weird where there was a point in my career where I thought, what am I doing with my life? Like, I wanted to help people, like, genuinely in my soul. I feel like that is my purpose, is to help others. So when I was like depressed and sad, I would think like, man, I probably chose the wrong path. Like, what did I do to my life where I'm not helping? And then going to conventions and meeting all the fans, I realized that I might not have been what I thought I was going to do when it came to helping people out, when it comes to illnesses and just, helping when it comes to medicine. But I realized that I'm helping people when it comes to their confidence and how they approach the world and strength. Like, there's this one girl, Lauren, in England, and somehow because of me, they met each other and they're gonna get married soon. So I'm like, oh,
wow.
She invited me to the wedding and she said, because of you, we met. So you're gonna be invited to the wedding. I was like, yes, please. But it really warms my heart to think that all I did was just wrestle and try to do my best, and inspired so many people to just be stronger or have more confidence.
Right. It's a wild thing to think about, but like someone in like their profession can have so big of an impact on someone else's life just by doing like their job. Like it's quite a crazy thing, but it's very, like you said, very influential and rewarding to the person that's obviously like you in your case.
Well, it's rewarding because I'm so grateful that I was able to do something so nice or to make somebody feel good, something positive. But it's like sometimes I think, I hope I don't disappoint people because I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
I will make mistakes, and the idea is I will write a book, but I want everybody to know that the mistakes is because they're human. I'm never going to pretend that I'm this perfect little angel and that I've never like made any mistakes in my whole entire life. This is just life. Like,
Right.
you live and you learn, and it's terrible and horrible when you mess up, and especially at the level of being in the public eye. But at the same time, you have to dust yourself off and learn from it and be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that in that, if I eventually, I pray I get to do it soon, because I keep talking about it, but I need to start writing it. But I just hope that people realize that either they are not alone in the things that they struggle with in their lives, learn from my mistakes, or if you find yourself in that position, you'll know that you can come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hope I get to do that sooner than later.
Right. And then the next step for you after Tough Enough was obviously OVW, which for those unfamiliar, OVW is essentially what NXT is now, I would say, for WWE.
But not at that magnitude. I'm like, what?
Well,
If we
yeah, I mean, yeah, it was more or less like it was like the performance center, basically. You guys were training and having matches, obviously being groomed for your eventual call-ups to the main rosters. And like the list of people, like yourself, obviously you were there. Were you working with Eminem yet during that, or was it not until you were? Okay.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Once I got there, and I was telling the story, I think on Spaces on Twitter with
Right.
with the fans, I was telling them that Jazz and Jacqueline came to visit. I love Jazz and Jacqueline. You have no idea. In their eras, Jazz, Jacqueline, and Lisa Marie. So those were my people that I rooted for, and I thought the world of. That's who I wanted to be. And when Jazz came by, and Jazz and Jacqueline, and she was in the middle of like listening to, I don't know who was, it was somebody, it was one of the writers there, and they were telling me like, you have to be a baby face, Melina. You're too nice. There's no way you could be a heel. And I kept telling them, please just let me try. I know I could do it. And they just kept saying, no, there's no way. Everybody thinks you're cute and da 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 da. And I was just like, man. And then Jazz told them, no, did you see her work in the ring? Did you see her face? She's a heel. And because of that, they're like, oh, okay, let's give it a try. And then I got to work with John, and as soon as like we did just a little bit of stuff, they're like, you know what, put Joey Mercury in there. And it was just the perfect, like, we couldn't be so lucky. Our minds just meshed together, and we were all on the same page, and we had such great chemistry together.
I'm so glad you brought up about like the facial expressions with like being a heel, because I think an underrated thing when getting into wrestling, I mean, when you watch it on TV for the first time, you tend to like, obviously you pinpoint like, okay, there's the physical aspect of it, but there's also like the psychology of wrestling, like things so little as just facial expressions and body language in pro wrestling that might seem like on surface so minuscule or actually like very big part of the overall presentation. So like at what point maybe did you start to recognize or become familiar with the in-ring psychology, such as like, you know, facial expressions and then the whole body language?
OVW, because I think oddly enough, I had that instinct, you know, in EWF, the place that I started working in. And I just had that. And I think that's why everybody kind of like started watching me and said she's going to be something because of the facials. And it, like, I guess because my dad was a boxer, so he taught my brother, and I begged him to teach me. So when he would teach me, we'd spar, and that it's that feeling. He wasn't like rough or anything like that, so people are like, what did he do? But there were moments where he tagged me in the face and he's like, keep your guard up. And I remember that feeling, like when I get hit in the face, and it's more so that my dad had to tell me to keep my guard up and I screwed up again. So that memory of like every time I get tagged in the face, I get so upset. Like I just I already felt it because I've experienced that before. So I had that naturally. But when we started watching tape back, and in OVW, that's what we were doing. You watch everything back. And I realized, like, when everybody explained it to me, like Al Snow and Lance Storm, everybody, and Cornette, and everybody would just point out certain things. And then I started realizing that my favorite, they made TV.
Yep.
Okay. Sometimes when we watch TV, we don't realize the little things. We just know we love stuff, but we really don't register the little mannerisms, look, as little things. They make you feel because you experience and now is that don't that inner so incredible, they're so athletic, and they're just amazing looks, amazing talent, but I don't feel that anger, that hurt when, oh my goodness. I always tell people, watch fighting, like watch UFC, if not now, back in the day, watch boxing back in the day, because those were real shots, those were real reactions. And I'm not saying not now, but back then people hit hard. And I mean, oh my goodness, those poor people, because who knows what all that damage has done. But you look at that, and you look at the selling, you look at the reaction, you look at how they fall. If you get hit in that sweet spot, like you crumble to the ground.
Yeah.
And all these things, like I used to push people. I'm like, how do you feel? Why are you doing that? I'm asking you, how do you feel? Like, I'm annoyed because you're doing that to me. I said, that right there, that's what I want. When you come up to me and I come up to you and I look at you, that's the expression I want. And they're like, oh, okay. But it's that feeling that you have to think about, because I realize that I'm not a big fan of, like, and that's only personally because of how I was kind of raised in it, but I'm not big on choreographing everything. And I know people like the beautiful part of it because it looks so fancy and beautiful and clean. But I like messy because real fights are messy. I want
Yeah.
people to think, like, was that supposed to happen? Oh, was that a mistake? Oh, not even was that a mistake, because if it was a real fight, it's like, damn, she's really pissed off. Did she really get hurt? Is she really angry? I love that so much because you have to suspend belief, because we know this is already predetermined. But if you have that one moment of suspending belief, you did your job. You did your job.
Right. It's like in a movie. Like if something feels like real, audiences tend to have more of a response emotionally to what they're seeing on the screen. So I definitely kind of get your point there.
Yeah, exactly it. But that, I hope people learn to sell like the way the fighters do. I mean, they're not selling, it's real, but to watch that and then incorporate it into your work, and you'll watch it back and be proud of yourself, especially when you see reactions.
Mm-hmm. Your entire presentation, and I know it started like with Eminem when you guys came out. You had like the red carpet, the paparazzi, everything. I love that presentation, and I was so glad once you guys split up that you were allowed to keep the whole entrance, because I was like, okay, this this is so fitting for you. Um,
Yeah.
when it came to the iconic split when you came into the ring, were you the one that pitched that idea?
Yeah. I've had multiple conversations. It's so funny. And it's okay, because some people are like, I'm sorry to ask, and you have to say it again. I'm like, no, I understand. There's so many people who haven't heard this story. But I told a couple people this week, because people always want to know. And it's this thing where I knew when I went to OVW that I was going to incorporate it. I was going to do something in the split, but it never seemed right. I was like, I do not want to use it as a move, because that's not real. Like, who drops into a split when they fight? And again, I did it later on because, later on in time in wrestling, people just wanted to see it, and I gave the fans what they wanted. So I found a way to incorporate it in moves later. But initially, I refused to do it. I was like, and thank goodness, because when the guys came up to me and said, okay, when you come out, you have to do something, like something special, some kind of ring entrance thing. And they were like stroking the ropes and flicking their hair and trying to be like, do something sexy. And I just thought, okay, well, how about this? And really, it was just that split second. I thought, well, maybe, how about this? And I just dropped into the split and went in the ring. And they stopped and they said, that's it. You got to do that. And I never thought in a million years, like, I would never have thought that would be a signature thing, and it would be as big as it is, and as memorable as it is. I never even thought that when I did that.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any prior like gymnastics experience or like background? Because I don't know if you heard, but splits are not the easiest thing in the world to do.
You keep telling me that, and I guess I never knew. But I have no idea. Part of me thinks that. So no martial arts, no dance, even though I wanted to. When I was little, I wanted to be a gymnast. Like, I just would watch like figure skating and the gymnastics on the Olympics, and I always thought, I want to do that. Nothing, no background at all. I think maybe because I was pigeon-toed. So that's my theory, that maybe because of the way my feet were aligned, I didn't strengthen my inner leg muscles. So it was very, like, I don't know, flexible. I have no idea. That's only the assumption. But I think maybe that's why I was able to do the split. Or maybe fate. Like, I don't know. The universe at work again.
It's your superpower.
Because
For lack of a bit.
that my foot could touch my head until I was like, oh, wait. So wrestling. I'm like, let me give it a try. Oh, I can do that.
I think when many people saw the branding for the most recent WrestleMania was Goes Hollywood. There was a lot of like red carpety-esque branding to it. I think immediately once that became the case, people's wheels started churning, and they were like, "Is this the year Melina is going into the Hall of Fame?" Were there any chatter or any feelers thrown out?
No, not on their end. But a lot of the fans would message me and come up to me and ask me about that. And I was like, no, and it's okay. Like, it's okay. In my mind, I think that would have been the perfect time. But this is what I've experienced in my whole entire, career or life in wrestling, and in the WWE too. And I don't want to knock them, and it's not that I'm trying to knock them. It's just that the experience there is sometimes it just feels like they're trying to see how you react over things, and sometimes they make it a little bit, put a little pressure on being kind of hurtful in a sense. I don't know how the right words to explain it right now, but just to like give a little dig or something, and it's okay. Like, I have no hate. I'm like, hey, it is what it is. You guys do this to me all the time. I'm used to it. It's kind of like when people say you're an awful worker or you're ugly. I've heard it so many times. It's like, well, I am. To you, I am. Like, okay. It
Right.
doesn't much anymore. And for them, it's I don't know. You can't really. You can have your assumptions, and that's all you can have, and that's it. But the fans are the ones that, as long as they think I'm Hall of Fame worthy, or that compliment, that means more to me than any award or trophy or title. That means more to me.
Hmm. I think when it comes to the fans themselves, I, for the most part, see like a lot of universal respect for you. But in terms of like your end, do you feel like there's do you feel any slight towards like from WWE like themselves in terms of like your personal recognition?
Well, yeah, but then at the same time, I kind of take it as a compliment, because all my favorite people, who I know everybody has their favorites, and I'll eventually say, like, tell people why these people are my favorites. But when it comes to like a, I want to say jazz. When it comes to jazz, when it comes to Lisa Marie, when it comes to China, like, China doesn't have her own, individual Hall of Fame. And when it comes to these people who I admire and respect, and when it comes to the psychology, the impression they've left, the things they've done, how many people that they put over and lifted because of their talent in the ring, because they're the veteran of the ring, it it hurts my heart to not see them recognized, because they're the best of the best. But at the same time, it's like they weren't acknowledged. It means there's some kind of connection here where we're all, for some reason, we're not acknowledged. And in a way, it's kind of like, it's okay, because these incredible people aren't in the Hall of Fame, even though they deserve to. So there must be a significant thing when it comes to, I guess, politics.
Right. Do you have, say, if like the stars were to align perfectly, and there were to be a Hall of Fame in the future for you, do you have any particular person in mind that you feel would be your ideal person to induct you?
Oh my goodness. I really don't. Part of me think like I wish I could be a person who's known me since the beginning, my brother. But when it comes to, you never know how the WWE would do that. And I'm trying to think, I know it's like my choice, but I would prefer it's somebody who's known me from the beginning. But then it'd be beautiful to see like maybe a talent of the now. But also, I don't know. I think if it was somebody I respected, like, it could be one of the people I looked up to when it comes to like jazz, or anybody, even Trish. Like, that'd be great, because I know the WWE would approve of that. But I
Hmm.
think that it has to be a WWE person approved. So,
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple options. Like, I think, when people look back at your career, they're able to pinpoint like certain, because there's a popular term that gets thrown around called, it's called like your wrestling soulmate, and that's like kind of like the person that, like, for example, like Rock and Steve Austin. When you think of Trish, most people think of Lita. So, for example, like if I were to ask you right now, like who's like one woman in terms of your career that you've either been associated with or just faced, had a rivalry with, that would be synonymous with your career?
what's so crazy? I think I've had very like in-ring little or interaction with Mickey, but people would say Mickey. But I think of, and I take this as like a very good thing, when fans approach me at conventions and shows and everything, they don't just mention one person. So it's not consistently one person. It's usually all the girls I've ever worked with. And that means a lot to me, because Yeah, I'm not socially associated with just one person. It's the whole entire era, and that means a lot. But I think because of our friendship throughout the years outside of the WWE, people would say Mickey.
Hmm. Yeah, for me, like when I was watching WWE, I caught the very tail end of Trish's run, and then you and Mickey were the two that I was kind of, you know, that's who I always think of when I think back to like my inception of my WWE when it comes to watching women's wrestling. So that's probably what I would say too is like you and Mickey. She would probably be a decent option for the Hall of Fame induction too, right?
Yeah, but I guess like I don't know. I guess I think too much. Okay, well, would it be fair to have like Mickey do that? But she probably wouldn't, because she'd be like, "You, I love you." Like, of course I'll do it. But at the same time, it's like, would it be weird for one of us to go in before the other and to do that as when we're not on it, type of deal?
Right.
But then at the same time, I wouldn't care. I don't care now. Like, so she probably would do that. But still, I wouldn't want to put her in that position. I want to put her in that position because I would love the friendship, but in that position where it just feels wrong. It's like the moment where I took Jillian's title away from her when she won it. Like, I felt so bad.
You obviously caught like the very tail end, I'd say, of the what many fans refer to as the ruthless aggression era, and then you obviously were in the beginning of the Divas era. So there was sort of a shift in terms of, kind of how women's wrestling was presented with WWE. Like obviously the matches were a lot longer, and there was more story behind them during the ruthless aggression when you first came up compared to when you obviously exited. What did you think about that shift, and why do you think that it occurred?
It's like a combination of things, because part of me thinks like that kind of was already there. If you think about the Attitude Era, in the Attitude Era, they had their workers, and then you had like Stacy and Tori doing their thing, and then they peppered that in. So it wasn't like that was never a thing, and that never happened, and all of a sudden women are sexualized and all this stuff.
Right.
But in the Diva era, I don't want to say it was because of me, but at the same time there was an opportunity, because I'm a worker, but at the same time I'm not seen as a worker because nobody knows I can work, and I can make I could guide girls, women in the ring that with limited knowledge, and teach them. And so I was able to have matches with them and make get because they're more they part of the I was hide and quit. Great. That was the thing we were doing. I remember the stories we were telling, and I really enjoyed that, even though it was like stuff, whatnot, but at the same time, there was a story behind it. It's like, okay, in your face, oh, what happened? And it's just a thing where you wonder. I actually feel like people wondered, yeah, I really hate him. I got really because you. I do think that if I put my position back in, I really didn't. It was not to do like putting a picture on any match. I really and game the time and I appreciate what goes into that, because they pretty much in her work comes to mind is can't like that say that you're to it. So I not to be judgmental about it. And I heard a lot. But we're to meet people not anybody. They're denied, but it's because we couldn't work. It was because no one could compare to them or what it was like a kid in a tantrum. Nope. If it's not legal, I don't want to see it. And that's the way it actually was. Because, I mean, now we're the four horsemen in our era, but back then people weren't saying, oh yeah, Melina, Mickey, Beth, and Michelle. It's like Michelle and I got the short end of the stick because it's like, oh, you came from the Divas, but of course Beth and Mickey got praise, but still, they didn't acknowledge us, whether it was Beth or Mickey. Well, Mickey was loved no matter what, but even with Beth, it wasn't like everybody really like, it was super supportive the way they are now. So in that moment, because of how the masses kind of like influenced each other of this negativity, that's how it was perceived. And say what you will, you could say like that was only an opinion, but that's what I've noticed. I watched back, I try to analyze it. I did like a whole post, like mortem for it, like kind of figuring it out, an autopsy, I mean, and to understand the whys of everything. And that's what I noticed happened, because we did really great work for what we were given, because we were really limited. They're like, you can't punch, can't do this, can't do what guys do, They would take things away. And with everything that was taken away, we came up with some really great stuff. I mean, with our limitations, and we got creative, and I'm very proud of that, because how many people can say that and then get time cut? Not before, when they cut your time in the middle of it. It's like, what? Okay, we got to switch things up. We got to change the story up, and it's an art. Like, I'm glad for the experience. I could say I hate that we had very short times, but I was so proud when I got to the back, because I made that match look flawless, and nobody knew that they cut our time and kind of screwed us over. Then took everything away of the story we were going to tell, but making it work and nobody knows that it was changed up. That's a skill that I'm proud to have learned.
And that was the Night of Champions match, right? The first one?
Was that, which one? Was that the Candice one? Did I work the Candice one?
I was thinking of you and Michelle.
Oh, they didn't cut our time. I mean, I think beforehand, I think they did. I think beforehand it was like, what? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Every time people go up before us, we're in Gorilla watching the time and thinking, oh my God, you better finish up right now. And then of course, every guy's match would go over. They kind of, and that's so sad, because that's in a way, the disrespect we had. Like, girls' matches don't matter compared to our match, and it just hurts, because we did everything we could to be on time, because that's respect and that's our show and we're doing our job. But they would do this thing where there are plenty of times where they would have John go in the match ahead of me. So when it went over, and he went over in time, and I'm not saying it was him, I'm sure it was both of them together, whoever he was working with, but I knew they knew that once he came back from the curtain, like from outside through the curtain, and he see my face, that like, or he wanted discretion or whatever, he sorry. Oh my goodness, because I know it's not his fault. Like, it happens, but they did that on purpose. I know it, because it was way too many times.
Yeah, I read that it was the match between you and Michelle McCool. You had a few matches at Night of Champions, but I think it was the first one you had. You guys kind of came up, improvised your own moves with each other. No. Wow.
No, I think you're talking about that time where they were upset that we went and did our own thing. When it came to yeah. No, we went over it. It's just there's this, like, my belief, and it's wrong. I'm not telling people to do this, but at the time I realized it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, and so I did that. I did that to where it wasn't like catastrophic. I would pick my spots and make sure that it didn't like hurt anybody or ruin the show or anything. I just would test things out. And when we got together, we're like, yeah, let's do this. And so we kind of left things out, but we knew what we wanted to do. And I'm glad we did it because it was a great match. I'm very proud of that match, and I'm really proud of working with her because I look back, and as much as I could love all these other stories and my work with other people, I look at our work and I think, wow, that's kind of like the level of what we have today, but we didn't have that back then. Because we went all out. Like, I think that was the transitioning of everybody. We gave hope to everybody else in that time that we could do this, that this is going to be the future. We could actually have more time and do good moves and, you know, not get too much in trouble for it. Like, people will have our support or support us. Even though they got upset, but at the same time, they didn't get that upset. They were just like, you girls, you should have known better. And da-da-da. What if you got hurt? And then, like, people would say, oh, no, man, that was good, though, man. Nothing happened. Da-da-da-da. And just people would come in and just praise us. And it's like, yeah, okay, good.
Do you think you came in the appropriate era, or would you have liked to be in the current era of women's wrestling with WWE specifically?
A lot of people ask me that, and I always think, like, okay, yes, it would be beautiful to be able to have these experiences and time and be able to do all these moves and everything. But the thing is I wouldn't have learned all the things I've learned, because if I were to be born and be in this era, I think I would have missed out on a lot of learning lessons and skills where it comes to, like, time and improvisation. Because I'm not saying we didn't improvise. When it comes to you're in the ring and they cut your time and you have to learn how to navigate, or somebody messes up, or somebody forgets, you have to reevaluate and just go on the fly and start working it and then just do something else and keep the story going. So that's a beautiful thing, and I would never trade that for anything. I would never trade the experience. And the reality is a lot of us girls really hurt during, like, will anybody respect us? Will we ever get any time? What's gonna happen to us? Like, it's just all this frustration because we wanted to work. And I think that I am grateful for being in that era, because I kept, whether it was, because I'm sure people don't think I'm the person who roots in the locker room, but when it came to the work, it's like, come on, let's do this. I worked with everybody for a reason, and that whole rumors about, like, I'm problematic and I don't get along with people, it's because I was quiet. I didn't talk, but when it came to the ring, it's like, tell me what you want to do. And I bumped my ass off for everybody. I did. A person who is resistant and wants to ruin somebody else's work or career or anything would not bump and sell and, you know, make somebody look good the way I did. That was the way I gave to them. I just didn't say it because I was very shy. And people think shy is, like, timid. Shy is just, like, withdrawn. Right. I just didn't say anything. And I was very introverted at the time. And I think if I didn't showcase my work and fight in my presence and keep going and showed people that, I think it would have hurt a lot of souls where it's like, what do we do? And just the frustration would have built that much more.
Did you feel misunderstood at all by your peers?
Oh, definitely. The entire time. And it's so weird because, and I understand, like, look back and I reflect and I think about if I were in their shoes and everything. Granted, if I were in their shoes, if I was the person talking to a shy person or a quiet person, I'm the kind of person who welcomes somebody else and says, hey, how you doing? Or what's going on? How's your day? Or, you know, that's just who I am. But in that environment, I think you're surrounded by super social people. They're very outgoing. And I mean, it's acting, it's athleticism, it's entertainment. People in entertainment are very social and outgoing. I have no idea how I made it. Seriously, so quiet and reserved and just introverted, so introverted that I don't know how I made it there. I don't know how my character comes out. But I think it's because I'm so withdrawn or so introverted that was the only way to talk to people, to express myself, was through a character. So I think maybe that was the case. But I think when people looked at me, they thought she's probably judging us, or she's probably writing this down and she's gonna tell somebody, or who knows what the thoughts, or she thinks she's better than us. There were so many things that I would hear, and I would just like I didn't know what to say. I remember I got yelled at because somebody said I was too nice, and they're like, "You're too nice." And I looked at them. I said, "What do you mean? Like, why is that a bad thing?" So that means you're fake. There's a reason why you're acting so nice to people. And it's like, man, who hurt you that you think that? But a lot of people went through some hell before getting to the WWE, and there's a reason why they feel that way. There's a reason why they act that way, and you could change yourself as an adult. You could, grow and want to be better. But if you have no awareness because of everything you've gone through and how people treated them, then that's why they do what they do. And I really do see that, and I understand why they were the way they were, because everybody's scared of a spot, losing their spot. Everybody's scared of not being relevant, and jealousy where it comes to like, what? Well, why are you looking at her match? And it's like, because they were entertained. It wasn't anything sexual. It was entertainment. And people did appreciate it. And I am so grateful for the veterans, the people I looked up to, who watched my matches and said the psychology of what you did here and when you did this and you could do this. Like, they wanted to help because they knew I loved this. I loved wrestling. It wasn't a sexual thing. It was because they saw that I loved this. And I guess they see women come and go, and they see women who love wrestling. But I guess the hard work I put into it, it's like, wow, I really expected nothing from you, and you're really putting in the work. And that's where it came from. And when it comes to women, I wish they were more supportive. And I'm hoping they're more supportive now. But it's this weird thing where we kind of attack each other. And I guess my brother is the only person I was raised with. I didn't have a sister, so I didn't know that cattiness was a thing. Until I went around a group of people. Everybody I was around was always so supportive and encouraging, and we're family. But going into an environment like this, there's insecurities, and there's people who want to be the alpha, and lots of ego. And I didn't know how to react to those, but I have nothing but love for people. And to your point, I felt very misunderstood. But not the feeling. I actually was misunderstood.
So then your exit, did that feel like a breath of fresh air, or was it more bittersweet?
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm crying.
Oh, don't worry about it.
I've told the story so many times, and I don't really cry anymore. But I think you're the first person on an interview to kind of say that, and after everything I just said, towards the end of my career, after the unification match and everything, it was a relief to not be the center of attention. Like, it was a relief to not be the main heel, and it was a relief to not wrestle, because the girls hated me if I got TV time. And if they're watching, I love you. It doesn't, I'm not angry. It's just what it was, and we did what we did to survive emotionally. But everybody hated me just because some higher up said, here, we know you could get the job done and, work. They gave me the time. I didn't put myself in that position. The company felt that I was good and felt fit for that storyline, and it was an honor. But once they stopped writing for me and everything, I thought, oh, now people aren't going to yell at me anymore. I'm not going to be the center of all this hate. And it did. As soon as the unification happened and I was on the road less and less TV time, everybody was nicer to me. It was so crazy, but I understood. It's something that I knew would happen. And when it came to the release, when they let me go, they thought I was going to cry because, I'm emotional. And I said, no, I'm not going to cry. This is right. This is what was supposed to happen. The universe wants this type of deal, and I don't take it personally. I know people leave and come back again. So, I had faith in that. I really did have faith in that. And I wasn't upset at all. But now I can emotionally heal because, my family has all had kids and they grew up, and had family members die and I didn't get to go to their funerals, and there was a lot of catching up to do and healing to do. And I'm a family person, and to be away from my family for that long because I just kept working nonstop, it was time to go home.
Right. Like, there's a certain aspect of it when you're missing all this time in, like, events with your family to, like, do something that you love, but because you're doing something you love so well to where it's, like, garnering, like, outside hate from, peers, let's just say, it almost, like, sucks the fun out of what you once enjoyed and loved, to where by the end point, for you at least, like, it kind of felt like almost a breath of fresh air to finally get away from it.
Definitely. But it's the weirdest thing. Like, you could question if the environment wasn't the way it was, how much better it would be, or what. But I mean, who knows? Who really knows? But this part of me really feels that if the people didn't kind of like shun me and isolate me and treat me the way they did, would I have been as focused and as good as I was? Or because I mean, I was gonna say sorry about saying as good as I was, because I know other people don't think so. But then at the same time, no, you don't understand. I was, because I can work with anybody and tell a story where some people can't work with somebody who has less, not talent. I can't say that. I'm so sorry. Less experience, and they'll say, "Oh, well, that was horrible because they don't know how to work. They're green." And I'm like, no, if you're good at your craft, you can work with anybody. And for me, I'm proud that I did that. I can make people believe I didn't know how to work. I can make people believe that I was this bitch. I could suspend belief, and it was so, I love the art of it. But, I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent.
Don't worry about it.
But, I know it's something in regards to, like, leaving or so. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. When it comes to how people treated me, I focused on my work. When people bullied me, I used that and put it into my character. I'm like, okay, my character is going to act like this, or do these little mannerisms, or do this. They inspired, as much as they try to tear me down, they inspired my character.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I hated life all the time during that time, that 2 minutes to 5 minutes to 12 minutes of being in the ring, that was my peace, that was my everything, and that was something that nobody could take away. I did that. So as much as it kind of feels like hell, because God, 24/7 of all this, negativity, I guess I could say, it was worth that moment in time, no matter who I was in the ring with. It's just I got to tell that story, and how many people get to do that?
Not many. Well, let's talk about something positive to lift our spirits for a moment here. Recently, I'm sure you've seen on social media the spot with you and Shawn Michaels from, I think, Survivor Series 2007. I'll have someone quote me if I'm wrong. One of the Survivor Series. There was a spot that you and him had that just got reenacted a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Raw. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, people were tweeting me about it. Usually, like, my friends or my brother would send me, and it's like, what is that? And then I go look. But I saw that, and I thought, oh my goodness, like, it's another thing where never in my, like, young life before WWE did I ever think there would be an action figure of me. Never did I think that there would be a video game that I'm in. Never did I think, like, all these scenarios where it's like, wow, I got to be, that was me. And to see, like, that, where with that reenactment, it's like, wow, I'm a person that, or a character that got reenacted, and that meant a lot to me. So I just thought, oh, I love that. I love that so much.
It draws back to the psychology of everything.
Huh?
I said that draws back to the psychology of everything.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But see, for me, it's like working with people like, HBK, like, oh my goodness, see, I'm so lucky for that too. All the people I got to work with. And he's the one, of course he's the one who came up with it, but then it's just like when you get people who know how to react, that he knew that I knew I would know how to react to that. And in my mind I just thought like, okay, like what would I do if I was with John, all this stuff. It's like, and oh my god, he is so gold. If you look back, his reaction to my reaction, it's kind of like the Jeff Hardy backstage thing that we did where I started screaming and the way he would react. It's like reactions like that is everything. And HBK's reaction when I screamed, it's like it startled him. And he's like, screw this, I'm getting back in. And it was beautiful. Like he is the showstopper for a reason, you know? I love stuff like that. Because you could do the whole bit, but when you notice those little details, that's what cracks you up. And I love seeing that with Rhea and Seth Rollins.
That was funny. It was a nice callback too. I'm glad they did
Yeah,
that.
and you know what? It's something where it's been so long ago. Like, a lot of people have never seen that before. So it's a beautiful thing to see where you take something old and make it new.
Hmm. When it comes to your Royal Rumble return from last year, was the timing just right when it came to that? Like, how did that whole process go?
I think so. Like I'd always nitpick and think, you know, if I was a little bit further along in like in my workouts and all this stuff, but no, everything happens for a reason. It really does. And that was a time where I it really made my heart heal more. It was like time for that when it came to, because my father passed away in 2020, and
Hmm.
all these things that I wanted to accomplish because he wanted to see me accomplish it. Like just sorry, everything's like crying. But it's just this thing where he didn't want me to wrestle for so long, and it was just like, why are you doing this? Da, 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 da. You're gonna get hurt. Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And then after time, he started seeing it, and he's just like, wow, I can't believe she's doing that. I can't believe like this is my daughter. And so when he saw that, he's like, you know what? You have a knack for this. You do it to the like go all out. Why'd you stop? Keep going. And when he passed, it's like I felt like I didn't do everything that he would have. Not that he wanted to, like, you have to do it because I want you to do it. It's the potential he sees that I could still contribute.
Right.
That I'm not done yet. In his mind, you're not done yet. And so when it came to the Royal Rumble, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. And I felt it that day. Like I felt it. It was the most incredible feeling. I could not describe it. And all I can do is go to conventions and shows and hug everybody. But I could never really convey and express and hug out that love that I felt that night that I never thought I'd ever get.
Hmm.
It was beautiful. Like, you know what? WWE cut my time. They did all this stuff where I was like, man, that's messed up. But at the same time, that fan reaction as soon as I went out the curtain, I don't care. I don't care they cut my time. I don't care that like they try to make me look like I'm nothing. That set everything, like that gave me closure, and that made me feel like, damn, I did something. I
I'm
did
so I'm so glad that that occurred too, because I think from the inception of when Women's Royal Rumble started, like you were near the top of everybody's wish list as for people they wanted to see return, because it felt like everybody under the sun, you know, had been making their returns. Like we had seen Michelle McCool's been in every single one of them, Royal Rumbles since they've started, and then you know, obviously you've had Victoria and Mickey James were all in Royal Rumble, so it almost felt like a matter of time until you made your Royal Rumble return.
You know, it's weird. People probably like think I'm crazy when I talk about the universe and this and this and that. But how crazy is this? This is the thing. If I kept coming back all the time, I'd be so worn out, not worn out, but watered down that people would be like, "Oh yeah, she's back." Ugh. And regardless if it's kind of like a dig at me or what that they keep me away, whenever I do come back, it's so special. And whether they realize that or not, or if it was intentional or not, like it's a psychology thing. You know, when a baby face gets an injury and then they make their return, and people are like, "Oh, they're back." That's basically what they did to me. Like they made me get missed because nobody's seen me in such a long time that it's like, wow, it's a shock and it's a happiness. So I'm grateful. Like, I'm not gonna get upset that I wasn't called back every year. To me, it's like, you know what? You gave me one good one. You gave me that one good one.
You make a great point too, because had you like been so visible before that, you know, like appearing all the time, like maybe the return wouldn't have felt like as like big as what it ended up being. Because I think like absence makes the heart grow fonder is what they say. So
It's true, though. It's true. I remember watching wrestling, and I would think like that's the way I felt when somebody would get hurt, or for some reason they went away, and whatever the story was that they went away, and then they come back, and it's like, oh, they're back. Come inside. It was always a big deal because you kind of worry. I think when I got injured, I worried like, well, will I be missed? Am I going to get replaced? Like it was anything I did significant type of deal. And I think that's a concern that people have sometimes, that will I lose my relevance if I disappear for a year or whatever many years? And I'm grateful for, I think, no, like if you touch people's hearts and you tell the story and you give it your all, people remember. And if they don't remember, you teach the people who've never seen you before who you are. And that's an art in itself too. Always teach people as if it's the first time they've ever watched you. That's the way I always see it. I
mm-hmm.
don't expect anybody to know my name, but I'm going to take that person who has that first wrestling experience, and I want them to ask, who's that person? Why is she dressed like that? Or anything, whatever it is, that's the first thing. It's like, I want to know about her.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this though, the doctor thing might have not worked out, but like your little bit of knowledge about it probably might have lent a hand a little bit when it came to dealing with some of the bumps and bruises on the road.
Yes and no. It's truly like, I think that when it comes to the bumps and bruises on the road, it's more of like, bodybuilding stuff, I guess, or I don't know. It's like things you just learn from being around the gym, of like all the ice and the warm ups and how to handle things. It's like, I don't know. We all talked about it at the gym, so we kind of just all knew what to do. But I knock on wood, as much as people say my two injuries were like a lot, the fact that it wasn't more than that is amazing. If I think about everything we've done and all the stuff we go through, like I hope all the wrestlers now, all the active ones that are wrestling out there right now, take care of your body. We feel like we're invincible. We worry about like, oh no, we got to keep the momentum going. But you want longevity. You want to do this thing that you love so much for as long as you can. So take care of your body. You think it's nothing because it feels like nothing, but once you stop wrestling, those ache starts sinking in. You start feeling in your like muscles, and you feel scar tissue. You just start feeling it.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do that. Being able to not only perform 350 something days out of the year,
Yeah.
with like that quick of a turnaround is quite remarkable.
Yeah, I just think about it, and like for a lot of years I was the one person, like the one female that would work every single show, every live event, because I was the heel that can get the heat. And so I worked with every girl, and they'd pepper in like couple of baby faces every week. They'd switch them all out, and I was the main workhorse every week until I got hurt. And then when I got hurt, it was like, who I could rest, but then at the same time, like, oh crap, now I got to worry about getting back into shape. And how much time am I missing? Are people am I going to get replaced? Am I going to get fired? I don't know.
Was that the ACL injury?
No, it was the first injury was my fractured heel. So it broke apart into 3 chunks and got jammed up into my ankle. So they had to dislodge it and piece it together. So I have 2 plates and 6 screws in my ankle. And the fact that I could still run now, because they said I might lose mobility. So when I came back and I could run, I was like, thank you so much, because the possibility of losing mobility was there.
I'd hate to be I'd hate to be going through a metal detector at an airport.
It doesn't go off.
Oh, thank gosh.
It doesn't go off. Thank
Yeah,
goodness.
thankfully you'd be holding up a lot of people.
We're like, what? She got a gun?
Uh, well, I thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a fun time getting to chat with you and pick your brain on so many different topics. And I speak for a lot of people when I say that we want you to be in the Hall of Fame one day. So
Oh,
thank
you
you.
know, it never happens. Like, I guess I think of worst case scenarios. So then if something positive happens, I'm pleasantly surprised. But honestly, I've come to peace with, that's kind of like what I felt with the Rumble. I thought if I never get invited back, it's okay. Like, I support the girls. That's all that matters. So then when I finally did get, asked to go back, it was like, wow, okay. Yeah, hell yeah. It was such a positive, motivating thing. But with the Hall of Fame, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, I've realized this whole entire time, everybody hated me so much and told me I was a crappy worker and all this stuff, all this hate. I've heard it for so long that it's like, all that matters is that I did my best and I gave it my all, and I wanted to give to the girls in the future. That's what I was taught from my dad, where your children, you got to make this world better than when you left it. You got to build that foundation, because he built a foundation for me, and we have to, build the levels to make it a home, or to make it something better than what you had. And that's what I felt like when it came to wrestling. But yeah, I kept talking. I'm sorry, I kept rambling.
It's fine.
What was the point? It was so awful. You take a person who never spoke, and then she started talking, it all started out.
Not a worry at all. But
It was.
thank you.
It happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But as long as people could look back and entertain just for a moment, and I get her from the street and still somebody come across it and get it and laugh, or be entertained. That's what matters. I don't need a Hall of Fame for that. I know what I did.
Right. Well, thank you again so much. This was such a great time.
Oh, thank you. And everybody, know that I love you. Know that all I want is the best for you, and I just want happiness for each and every one of you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.